Good evening, everyone. Super psyched to be on tonight. Super psyched to be on tonight. Let's see. Hey, everyone. It's 5 o'clock. We're live at 5. How is everyone? We have an exciting topic tonight. We had 22 people register for tonight's topic, commercial versus residential. Which one do you pick? I'm going to wait a few minutes for people to jump on. It usually takes people a couple minutes before they get notified. I hope everyone's having a great week so far. Few people have had a hard time getting back into the swing of things. We had two holidays right in the middle of a week. We had Christmas Eve on a Tuesday, Christmas Day on a Wednesday. We had New Year's Eve on a Tuesday, New Year's Eve on a Wednesday. That screwed a lot of people up. So I see some people jumping on. As you're jumping on, say hi. Let me know where you're from. I always love to do that because people call in from like all over the country, Canada, Australia, UK, all kinds of things. Kelly, how are you, Kelly? How's that Snow Miser post coming? That's going to be so much fun. That is going to be so much fun. I am super psyched. How was your day? Tell me about your day. I know you were out. Kelly was out today taking door hangers and hanging them savagely. I think she said she had 140 doors that she hung door knockers on. It's like a savage. I absolutely love that. Hi, Lizzie. How are you? Lizzie's from Maine. She's my neck of the woods. She's in New England, part of New England. I think Maine's part of New England, right? Yeah, yeah, yep. Gabriella. Gabriella's from Kansas. How was all that snow a couple of weeks ago? You guys got killed with snow. I did not think that Kansas got that much snow. I had no idea that you guys got snow like that. Hey, Tracy. Tracy from Illinois. Tracy's going to be brand new to Drop Them Off. She's starting tomorrow night. I'm super excited. Super excited to help her because she is a badass and she's motivated. And it's like when I do my Zoom calls with all of you and I get to meet you, I can tell like immediately like who has it and who doesn't. I can tell immediately who's motivated and who's not motivated, like right away. So like I get psyched when someone's like all in. I'm like psyched because I know what that means for them. So congratulations. Hey, Lorinda. Lorinda's coming on in a couple weeks too. Lorinda's from Texas. Shauna from Washington State. She's an Airbnb specialist, short-term rental queen. God love you because I couldn't do it. Um, Last week you barely cleaned. Yeah, that's the one thing that sucks when you get snow. Like when we get snow up here, the girls aren't on the roads. It sucks. Mm-hmm. Kelly had a busy day. She had 3 walkthroughs and 2 she needs to call back. Oh, me and Kelly work together. Kelly's in the Sisters Elite, and we've been strategizing on getting our new clients because she moved her business from Austin, Texas to Houston, Texas. So now she's starting all over again. So we're coming up with some cool ideas. So cool. All right. So those of you that don't know me, if you're watching this on replay, my name is Cheryl Hazer. I am from the Boston, Massachusetts area. I'm not in Boston. I'm 40 minutes north of Boston. Lizzie's going to know what that means. And I own a cleaning business. The name of it is Made Bright, Maidbrite. I am your host of Sisters Who Scale this channel. If you're tuning in for the first time or you're on replay, hello, who the heck am I? I'm a cleaning business owner and started very similar to all of you, right? I started my company by myself with no money, right, with a mop, with a caddy, right? All that stuff. I had no money when I first started, but with strategic implementation and the willingness to never give up, Kelly, we are now just over $750,000 a year, approaching 800 this year. And the cool thing about me is that I'm still an active cleaning business owner. I teach you all the same things I do in my own business, what I do to leverage, and I teach you how to believe in yourself, which is 50% of the battle, right? I teach you the tools to be consistent, to execute, right? Instead of making all kinds of excuses, instead of blaming everyone else for your problems, right? It's usually your fault for why your business isn't growing the way you want it to, right? So it can be done. I've done it. I'm still doing it. You just have to be willing to wait and to do what it takes to make it, right? To do what it takes to make it. So here we are at the beginning of the year. Happy 2025. And I thought it would be cool to talk about the difference between residential cleaning and commercial cleaning. Which one's for you? Can you do both? And how you can triple your profits. So let's get into it. Let me just check in to see who else has jumped on so I can say hi. Hi, Pia. Pia is Sarah. Pia is Sarah, by the way. Okay, let's get into this. So, commercial versus residential cleaning. So, as established cleaning business owners all know, there's a big debate between commercial and residential cleaning. And it isn't just about if it's most profitable. Yes, that's one of the biggest ones. But it's understanding the complexities of each model and how they align with your business goals and your operational capabilities. And if you can take on one or the other, depending on your lifestyle, that's a big thing, right? So there's a few things to consider. So let's talk about when we're talking about market position and growth potential. Let's talk about residential first, because most of us have, some sort of a residential. So it continues to evolve, the residential market, particularly in the rise of dual income households, right? And increasingly disposable income in some areas, not all areas, in some areas, right? So it doesn't show any signs of stopping. So many cleaning business owners, including myself, started residential and stay exclusively in this sector, and that can be a strategic choice rather than a stepping stone. Completely 100% up to you. Some people love residential, some people love commercial, some people don't have a preference, and they do a little bit of both. So the residential sector offers the advantage of higher per hour rates across the board, okay? Often ranging from $50 an hour per cleaner to $100 an hour per cleaner wherever you are. If you're in a city, you can get more, okay? So in some states are different than others too. So you really have to know, what your state rates are and stuff like that. So commercial rates fall in between 30 and 60 per hour, a lot lower than residential, okay? But this simple comparison doesn't tell the whole story. So your commercial contracts, okay, you offer low, you get lower hourly rates, but it provides predictable, large scale revenue streams that can significantly reduce your administrative overhead per dollar earned. So, what does that mean? On a managerial standpoint, commercial is easier to manage. So, if you want to write this down, by all means, write all this stuff down. Commercial is easier to manage. So, a single commercial contract might generate 10,000 a month. That's a good one. All right, that's a really good one. There's a lot of small business ones. They may be like 400 a month, 1,000 a month, things like that. But if you can get into the bigger ones, which the bigger ones are going to require that you have your shit together, for lack of a better word, and you have to pass background checks and all kinds of stuff, right? You get to negotiate a contract with that. They're usually yearly contracts, and you have to put your big girl pants on and you got to go negotiate a contract, okay? So compare that to the need to manage 40 to 50 residential cleaning clients to have the same revenue. Probably a little bit less now. I would probably say you're at like 25 clients a month to generate about 10,000, maybe, depending on your state, right? Everything's different. So other things other things to consider about commercial. The clients don't cancel routine service unless it's a holiday and the business is closed, right? No one is usually there when you're cleaning, which is amazing. Commercial is easier from a standpoint of cleaning. So, for example, some of them don't have kitchens. They definitely don't have pets, right? There's no people home. There's less vacuuming. There's more trash, so you're doing more trash. You're filling soaps. You're changing toilet paper, paper towels. You need to know where keys are. You need to know how to work alarms, and you need to be not nervous about, setting alarms and things like that, because we're talking about a business, right? So that's a little bit different. So, from an operational standpoint, and scaling. So the scaling dynamics between residential and commercial cleaning, they differ, okay? So when you're scaling residential, which is growing the revenue, okay? What does that mean? Scaling typically means adding more teams and more vehicles proportionally to revenue growth, right? Okay, each new client requires separate scheduling, separate travel time, and client relationship management. What does that mean? You got to kiss a little ass. You have more of a customer service demand on residential than you do on commercial, right? You have a little bit because you're dealing with like The office manager, like the commercial jobs we have, I deal with the office manager for the most part. So there's a little bit, but you're not dealing with someone's kids, someone's dog, this, that. A lot less details, right? Than that. So residential is profitable. Residential can be more profitable to a certain degree, but it will often hit like a scaling barrier. So once you reach 20 people that work for you, it becomes very complex, right? I'm not going to lie. Everyone that has $1 million cleaning business and over, it is very complex. You need managers to handle everything. And most purely residential companies don't hit those numbers. They can hit 10, 15, 18. But once you go over 20, you're in a different ball game. You're in a different ball game. You can do it with residential, but you're in a different ball game. So commercial cleaning is different. So commercial cleaning offers more efficient scaling opportunities, okay, even though your price point is lower. So for example, a single large commercial contract might require multiple teams at one location, which is fine. There's a reduction in travel time, and there's a reduction in management oversight, right? Because it's easier. However, this comes with its own set of challenges. You need sophisticated equipment. You're going to have top of the line equipment. Some people are going to want you to shampoo the carpets. You're going to have to know how to do that, right? That equipment is not cheap, and you can't rent anything from Home Depot because it's not going to work that great. So things like that get a little different, okay? So in your evening shifts, for the most part, in your weekend shifts, you may have people that accounts that don't let you go into the building till 10 o'clock at night. So now you have to staff that. Are you going to staff all women to do that? You probably don't want to do that for safety reasons. So now you're dealing with part-time men coming in, this and that. And what happens when they call out at 10 o'clock at night and you just had a baby? You're going to go out and clean? You better have support at home. That's the challenge, right? Those are some of the challenges. So let's weigh both residential and commercial, and grab this. We're going to be talking about financial. Anyone have any questions so far? Let me check in. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Made It. Made It. What's your first name? Made It Cleaning. Welcome. Okay, grab a pen. Let's talk about financial considerations, difference between residential and commercial, because this is super important. Okay, so beyond basic profitability, let's look deeper into these financial metrics. So residential cleaning typically shows a higher gross margin, often 45 to 60%. We're at 55 to 70%. We're higher because we're numbers Nazis, right? So we're numbers Nazis, so we're higher than that. Commercials typically 30 to 45%. Now we're talking gross, okay? Gross margins, commercial 30 to 45%. However, commercial operations frequently demonstrate a better net profit margins due to operational efficiencies because it's easier to manage. Remember how I said that in the beginning? There's lower overhead per dollar of revenue because you're managing less, right? With residential, you're dealing with people's children. You're dealing with all kinds of things that can slow the teams down when they're in the house, right? When they're in the house. So let's consider these overlooked financial factors. Okay, your payment cycles in residential cleaning usually get paid right away, right? Or maybe if you're doing like, the mother's house, the brother's house, the sister's house, and someone's paying once a month, maybe you're on a net 15, something like that, right? What's that going to do for you? That's going to improve cash flow. You got money coming in all the time. And for those of you that aren't getting paid and you're waiting more than 3 days for your money, you have my permission to cancel that client. Get rid of them, right? Get rid of them. They don't deserve you. Okay. Commercial contracts, well, they're more stable. They often require a net 30 or a net 60 payment. What does that mean for you? It means you have to float your payroll. It means you're going to pay your staff out before you get paid. All right. That is the biggest challenge with commercial. You must have capital to do that. You can do small accounts because you can take the income from the residential and you can float the payroll for the commercial. You can do that, right? That's what we did in the beginning. But if you want big accounts, you need to go take loans. You can't be afraid to do that. Every business owner needs capital. It's called working capital. What does that mean? It allows your business to be fluid so you can make moves and you can take on a $10,000 account. Think about this. You take on a $10,000 account, your gross commercial account a month, you need to float 10 grand and pay your payroll before you get paid. That could be risky to some people. That may not be for everyone, right? Big commercial cleaning companies that only do commercial have on average of $100,000 revolving line of credit to pay their staff. All right, exactly. That's not for everyone. So that's what you need to deal with. Sometimes your small commercials will pay you net 15, which is great. Or if they're like a once a month, they pay you right away. That's awesome. You have my credit card, you charge it. That's awesome. But the bigger buildings, the larger buildings want net 60. They try and get net 60. They don't even want to do net 30. You're lucky if you get net 30 on a big building. They want 2 months to pay. Now you're going to flow 2 months of payroll. That's difficult, right? So this is a business, even though it's cleaning, right? And we all started with a mop and a caddy. And if you really want to grow it, you need capital to afford things, ladies, right? You need capital. This is going to help you grow your revenue. Some of you, it's too risky, and that's okay. Stay with residential. It's totally fine, right? Everyone has a different, you know, a different way they want to go, and that's totally fine, right? If you can't take the calculated risk, I suggest you stay in residential. Be happy, get paid right after you clean the houses. You're going to get paid a lot faster, and you don't have to get any capital and stuff like that. Well, you do need to get some capital, but you don't need to go out and get $100,000 line of credit, right? All right, insurances differ between commercial and residential. So, insurance and bonding requirements for commercial are higher, sometimes requiring $2 to $5 million in coverage compared to the standard $1 million in coverage for residential work. So, when calculated on a per revenue basis, commercial insurance costs often work out lower due to the higher revenue per client if you're doing percentages, right? Staffing. Let's talk about staffing. What's the difference? So the difference between residential and commercial is residential is done during the day. Commercial, for the most part, is done at night, on the weekends, on Saturdays, on Sundays. You get a different workforce there. So your residential cleaning teams need to have better communication skills and customer service skills, right? They need to speak English. They need stronger interpersonal skills because they're talking to people all day long. They need attention to detail. They need to shine the chrome. They need to make sure there's no streaks on the mirror, stuff like that, right? So they're working in spaces where they're interacting with clients, with pets, with kids, and this often commands higher wages. You have to pay them a little bit higher, but it can result in better employee retention due to more favorable hours. Okay, so when people want to work during the day rather at night, they're going to go for residential. The issue is if you have family and kids and you get a call out when you're doing commercial. Now when you're doing commercial, you have kids, you just had a baby, whatever's going on, you get a call out for a night job, you got to go out and do it, or you're going to get someone to do it, right? Your husband or another employee, right? So that can be a challenge if you're a young mother with young kids, right? Just leveling it, letting you know this is real life stuff that's going to happen, right? If you have little kids, it's going to be tough unless you have a wonderful husband who watches the kids, right? So you're going to need a support system if you want to do commercial. A lot of times husbands and wives run this business like myself, even though my husband's never went out and cleaned at night like I did before. But you know, if you're a single parent, doing commercial at night is going to be difficult for you unless you have the support, right? And that's why I only did residential myself when I was a single parent. True story, right? I'm not saying this stuff to deter you or to scare you, but you just need to be aware of the reality of the situation. These are real facts and they happen every day in our industry. So Your commercial cleaning staff, while they require less client interaction, they need to be comfortable with more technical things like equipment, stricter security protocols. They can't be afraid to set the alarm on a big building, right? Because you don't want to leave that unlocked. The evening, the weekend hours can make staff more challenging. If someone has a Saturday shift and they decide they want to go to a party, then you have dinner plans, and then you need to go service the building. So that is kind of like what happens with that. Is that all making sense to you guys? Um, Amber, hi Amber. Do you like the idea of getting involved with commercial franchise companies? There's one in Canada who gets us the contracts. I don't actually know anything about commercial franchises. I'm sure you could. Why are you skeptical about it? I'd be skeptical about them saying they get you all the contracts. I don't know about that. But tell me why you're skeptical about it. So, moving on. So, your marketing position and your competition. So, in the residential sector, your brand differentiation often comes through personalized service quality. So, the ability to maintain your consistent quality across multiple jobs is crucial. That's where the gray area comes in, right? That's where the mess comes in. So, success in this space frequently depends on strong client relationships, word of mouth referrals, you do a good job. Commercial cleaning success is different, okay? It hinges on your operational efficiency, your systemic quality control, how much money you're throwing at Google for ads, right? Because most people looking for commercial jobs, they're not on Facebook. Even though I've found a good amount of small businesses on Facebook, they were owned by women for the most part. But you usually have to have a high ad spend on Google when you're looking for commercial jobs like that, because they go there. They always get 3 bids. Their board, their corporate makes them get 3 bids. You have a lower closing rate on commercial because you have to go through all this red tape. You don't have to go through a lot of red tape with residential. It's really kind of personal, right? So the relationships still matter, but the focus is more on, like performance metrics and consistent service delivery. The bidding process is very formal. It's long. They got to pass it by corporate. It can be a pain in the ass, right? You have to have sophisticated pricing strategies. You have to be writing up professional quotes. You can't just send them an email, right? You have to have one of the big ones like ZenMaid or Jobber. You have to have a system like that for bidding, because you have to look professional, right? So that's why so many people start in residential, especially women, because of the drawbacks with actually operating a commercial business. So your staff also, your commercial staff also has to be okay with being in buildings at night by themselves. That's why a lot of guys clean, right? I do have women that clean, but they're done cleaning by 9 p.m., right? So, like, that's easy. They need to be good with alarms, understanding the security of the building, right? The security of the building is just as important as the clean. This is crucial to your success. You leave a door unlocked to a building and something happens, you're fucked, right? The boss comes in, the big CEO making the big bucks, opens the door in the morning, 7:30 in the morning, and the door's unlocked, you're fucked. So that's different, right? So you can consider what's called a hybrid approach, which is what we have. Ours is like 80% residential, 20% commercial. That's how my business is. It works for us. We like it, but many people do both, right? You can do that because you can use each other's weaknesses and strong points to balance each other out. So, for example, commercial contracts can provide stable base revenue because it's always coming in, while residential offers higher margins, but you got to fill scheduling gaps. We had a few cancellations, this week. Oh, I got to push it off, this and that. January is always funky. People want to not clean in January, push it off. No one has any money. You get fluctuations, right, with residential. January is like, you hold your breath in January. It's like a shit month sometimes. Not all the time, but it's like we lost a few, we gained a few. You get changes that go on in January and February, like the crappiest months for residential. So your residential offers your higher margins, like I said, But this approach, the hybrid approach, requires more complex management skills because you're balancing two schedules. You're balancing a day schedule, a 9 to 4 schedule, and then you're balancing a 5 to whatever, 5 to 10, 5 to 9, whatever you want. But it can give you more stable growth, especially when you have accounts that pay on time, which obviously, most of our accounts pay on time. Every once in a while we have to chase someone, but for the most part, everyone's pretty good. So we don't have to worry about that. So the choice between residential and commercial is based on several factors. Your current operational strengths and weaknesses. Do you have all your systems in place? Is everything streamlined? Your market positioning and competitive advantages should guide your decision. So if you excel at building personal relationships, if you're like Chatty Cathy, and you are very detail oriented and can teach that to your teams well, residential might be stronger for you. All right, it might be stronger play for you. If your strengths lie in systematic operations and scaling efficiency, commercial may be more suitable, right? But you have to consider your local dynamics, right? Some areas are going to be different. Some you may live close to the city and you're going to have more commercial buildings, right? That could be saturated with national franchises, like Amber said, right? Sometimes when they get the business, there might be a shortage of quality residential services in that area. It all kind of depends. So you really need to understand your market. I teach that. I talk about that a lot in the Drop Them Up program, about knowing your target market. That's what that is. That's what I have, and we like it. I don't know if we're talking about commercial, residential. I think you do both. I'm pretty sure. But so both residential and commercial can be highly profitable ventures. No, this is not a drink. This is water. I'm just fighting off a cold, and I've been thirsty all day like a crazy person. I'm not drinking on a Wednesday. So your success depends more on how well the chosen model aligns with your operational strengths, your current lifestyle, right? You have a bunch, got a couple kids at home that are little that need you. That might be difficult to get out and do commercial at night. It depends on your business goals, right? And it depends on how big you want to grow your company. There's profitability in both. They're just done a little different. But the key is to make a strategic choice based on your specific market, right? What your market looks like, your business goals for, either commercial or residential in either sector. So the key is to make a choice that's going to fit for your lifestyle, right? So remember, the choice isn't permanent. You can change it when things change. I started my company doing 100% residential, but as my son got older, I was able to expand into commercial as well. That's how that happened, right? Many successful cleaning businesses evolve and change their services and add different things over time as market conditions change. Or as organizational capabilities change. If you get someone that's like a whiz at operations that comes in, like an admin, or someone, your husband joins a business, something, and they have really strong operational systems, you may want to consider a commercial, right? So I hope this made sense. I wanted to do this because people ask all the time, commercial, residential, but your operating systems have to be strong, right? Your operating systems have to be strong. Yeah, Sarah's laughing because I'm talking about the drink. They have to be strong. So if anyone needs help on their operations, I don't know if you guys saw last week, I launched the digital store. It's tagged at the top of the group. What this is, take a look around that, around for you. I created this the end of last year because people have been asking me for it. So they're all done for you templates, done for you training guides, residential, training guides, commercial training guides. There's a set of 20 operational documents. There's so many documents in there. I have the piece of paper. I could rattle them off. It's like your breakage reports, your write-ups, all the things you need. Where is my sheet? I could read it off to you. There's so much in there. Where is it? I gotta read it to you. Of course I can't find it now, right? You would think. Of course I can't find it now. Where is it? Operational documents. So this is the list. Orientation, employee intake form, reference sheet, performance reviews, request leave of absence, drug testing form, written warning, non-solicitation agreement, incident report, breakage report, termination letter, exit interview form, equipment policy, photo release form, service agreement, credit card form, use of company car, employee non-solicitation of client and staff, clean up the clutter form. That's in the operational, and then there's all kinds of trainings for your tiers of management, things like that. Take a look. I could just spit out all of them, whatever, but the basics is that they're done for you. All you need to do is plug and play your logos in them, and you have a whole set of documents. For people that hate creating documents on their own, I grab this, so take a look around. If you want to grab a couple single sessions with me here and there, I have bundles you can do as well. So my Drop Them Up and Scale program is launching end of the month. We're going to be talking about that real soon coming up. So if you think you're needing help with that, I have basically I have 2 open spots now. Lorinda and Tracy are taking them, but I open it up for 7 additional spots. I call it open registration. Once that's filled up, it's gone. I don't open it back up until April. I do 4 a year. I do 4 onboarding a year. So if you think you're ready for support, come talk to me. DM me, the whole 9 yards. So there is also a Loom as well. There's a Loom video explaining the store. Another exciting thing is that January 22nd, and I'm psyched to tell you guys about this. January 22nd, I am launching the Maids Who Made It podcast. My first guest is Kelly Jenkins from Houston, Texas. We're going to be talking to her about how she started her business. She's a former Ironman champion, and we're going to be talking about the link between training for a physical competition and building a business. So that's going to be exciting. That's going to be happening once a month. Okay, so in place, I'm going to be doing 3 trainings a month on the Live at 5, just like you're on here now. 1 time a month, I'm going to do an interview, and I'm going to stream it directly into my Facebook personal and my YouTube page, because Facebook doesn't allow you to stream into a Facebook group, I found out. So there's going to be plenty of things in the page of when it is. It's going to be on a Wednesday, January 22nd at 5 o'clock, but it's going to be in my personal account. So if you're not friends with me, follow me, or it's going to be in the YouTube account. So I'm going to post all the information. So my point with doing the podcast is to interview industry leaders and people that own cleaning businesses and talk about the rotten, dirty, ugly stuff that no one talks about when it comes to owning a cleaning business. So it's going to be raw, it's going to be unfiltered, and it's going to be a lot of freaking fun. So tune in for that. And then one more thing is that Rise Retreat is in April in Destin, Florida. This is a strictly 3-day hiring retreat, all about hiring, training your teams, retaining your staff, and learning how to make big bucks, because you know how to build a dream team. So I'm out of breath. I'm glad I could get that all out. Does anyone have any questions? Does anyone have any questions? If you do, if you're watching this on replay, you can ask questions on the side. I welcome them all the time. I welcome them all the time. But Amber, getting back to you, I don't know too much about the commercial franchises, but it would be interesting. It would be interesting to talk. What you could do is you could see if they'll give you a list of current franchise owners and talk to them and see what their experience has been. That's what I would do if I was considering a commercial franchise, for sure. Anyone have any questions? Any questions at all? I know I kept talking and talking. I had so much to get out. But there's a lot of ways to get help with me, and that's one of the reasons why I created this store, because some people just may want to download their commercial and residential training manuals, right? And they want to have it done for them. They don't want to take the time to write one out, to make one. They want it done for you. Okay, boom, there you go. It's just a digital download. You put your logos in it. You can change what you want. You download it into a Google Drive, and it's all yours to do. So that's why I did that. All right, ladies, I'm going to go have some dinner. I'm gonna have some dinner. I'm fighting a cold a little bit. So I'm gonna go have some dinner, watch a little news maybe, and fall down and go to bed at least. Have an amazing evening. So psyched to see you. I will see you next Wednesday. Oh shit! Next Wednesday's the podcast. Next Wednesday, January 22nd, 5 p.m. is the podcast. It's streamed into my personal Facebook account and my YouTube page. So watch for that. Kelly Jenkins is going to be live with me. We're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff that nobody wants to talk about in the cleaning industry. It's going to be super fun. Hi, Evelyn. You're welcome, Evelyn. You're welcome, Evelyn. Have an amazing evening, ladies. I will see you next week for the interview with Kelly Jenkins on the podcast Maids Who Made It. All right. Have a good night. Bye.